morning and welcome to Still Up with 6, where the conversation continues and we try to answer your questions in real time. Joining me from home is Chris Rogers. Hey, Chris.
Hey there, good morning to you, Heidi. Yeah, we've got kind of a limited amount of time this morning, so let's get right down to it. Plenty of people starting to join us now as we end the week here on Still Up with 6, where you can ask us questions, we answer you in real time. Of course, we know that many of the questions coming out right now are about the stimulus check. So many of you have sent me emails, sent me Facebook messages, and I'm working around to get into all of them. But it's been the big talker all week long, Heidi.
Yeah, and there are still checks going out, so just be patient. That's something we want to continue to remind you. For the next 2 weeks, you can expect it at some point in your bank account via direct deposit. And if you don't have a direct deposit with the IRS, then expect that paper check in early May.
Yeah, let's talk about this, Heidi, because this is kind of something that people are starting to figure out that is kind of a new development in terms of we're just starting to figure out that this is the case. One of the questions that I've been getting a lot is, can the money from that stimulus check be garnished? Now, that's essentially a legal procedure in which a person's wages are required by court order to be withheld to pay for some kind of debt. Now, here's the deal. The text of the CARES Act passed last month. It protects your stimulus money from federal and state debts, with the exception, of course, from child support. We discussed that earlier in the week. However, here's the problem. It's not that it says they can, but there's nothing that says that private debt collectors or banks can't grab that money. But here's a little way around this, Heidi, and I want to remind people at home. If you've got private debt collectors or banks going after you for money right now, your best bet is to withdraw the money as cash immediately or use it on your needs as soon as possible, because if you take it out before they can take it from you, that's a way to get around it. But right now, it's a loophole in the wording of the CARES Act that allows private debtors and banks to garnish those funds.
Yeah, and that was all part of your Verify Fast Friday edition. Good morning, Thomas. Good morning, Jay. We have a question, but it's not about the stimulus checks or any of that. It's actually about, Chris, your pajama pants and bunny slippers that you might be wearing. So someone's really curious right now.
Hey, Bill. Good morning to you. Good question. Zach and I both wear pajama pants and the nice suit and tie up top. I don't have any bunny slippers, but that wouldn't be a bad addition to the wardrobe here.
I'm glad that they were curious and you verified for them that you are in fact in pajama pants. But in all seriousness, let's talk about these phases. This is like the big talk of the day this morning. Is President Trump and the task force did issue some guidelines and some sort of map in 3 phases to get the country back open and running. There's certain criteria that states need to meet. Of course, it is up to the governors of the state to use this in order to get each state back on their feet. But we've been talking about the word phases all morning long, because we need to remind people that for us to get back to some sort of normalcy, or at least close to what we used to live like, we need to do this slowly and gradually. It's not going to be, as you said, Chris, just a quick snap and it's all back to normal.
Yeah, absolutely. So let's kind of go through those phases right now. I've got them. I want to pull them up here so I make sure that I can get these accurately. So essentially what's got to happen is each state has to show a downward trend in cases over 2 weeks before starting this. And hospitals need to have the ability to treat all patients without crisis care and have testing programs in place. So phase 1 of this is going to be strict social distancing for people out in public, no gatherings for 10 or more, non-essential travel discouraged, but employers can have employees return to work in phases. That would be phase 1. Phase 2, that would be moving on to no spikes in cases, and then it can begin. And that would be non-essential travel can resume, schools and organized youth activities could reopen, bars, gyms, churches, and large venues can reopen, but proper social distancing measures in place, no more than 50 people, and elective surgeries can resume as well. And then finally, phase 3 would be, hypothetically, if there are no spikes in cases, bars, gyms, and large venues can reopen with limited social distancing and proper sanitation, and visits to senior care facilities and hospitals can resume as well, but visitors and patients must be diligent with hygiene. So that's the plan right now, the rollout plan, and the stipulation, the criteria that has to be met in order for that to roll out.
A lot of people are asking what's the plan here in Texas. Obviously, that's impacting all of us. Governor Greg Abbott is expected to speak on that at noon today. We will have it on our website, our Facebook page, and as well as on air. So tune into that to see what the governor has to say about reopening businesses here in Texas and what guidelines and phases we plan to take here, and that's happening later today.
Yeah, let's start answering a couple questions here. Well, we've got some people on here. Patricia says, that's not true. I've had the other party behind on child support, and they did not withhold the money and send it to me. Patricia, I can't speak to your individual situation, but I can tell you this is coming right from the government and the IRS. I mean, they are withholding stimulus checks for child support, and I don't know what your individual situation is, but it absolutely is true that you can have your stimulus check withheld because of child support. So that is true. That is happening, and that's not something I'm making up. That's coming from the IRS. Felicia is asking, do you know how long it takes to get a direct deposit after you change your direct deposit information on the Get My Payment website? Felicia, it's a good question. It's come to me a number of different times. I would say give it a couple of days. I don't have a specific timeline for you in terms of how long it might take after you change to your direct deposit information. I would certainly give it a couple of days and wait for it that way. But in terms of a direct timeline, that's unclear right now.
Sherry is asking about the SSI stimulus checks, and I know you've gotten a lot of those questions. Do you know when they'll be giving those checks out?
It's a good question, and Sherry, here's what I can tell you. It depends on how you normally receive your SSI benefits. If you normally receive them in a direct deposit account, that's how you would receive them, and it should be there fairly soon. Now, if you normally receive those SSI benefits in the mail, that's going to take a little bit longer. Those checks are expected to start going out in May.
And we also just dropped in a link for you, Sherry, that could help you out and help you determine when you will be getting your stimulus check. And of course, we want to remind people there's still the IRS tracker online on irs.gov where you can see the status of your check, update your direct deposit information, among many other things. So that's also a helpful link.
Yeah, absolutely, and we do want to remind people that there are some confusing little caveats when it comes to navigating the Get My Payment site, and there's been some people that have gotten payment unavailable, status unavailable. We've got also an explainer on what's going on with that on our website, kcentv.com, that'll kind of lead you through what that all means and what to do if you get that message. Here comes Emily, who says, do we know when hospitals will get their stimulus? Not entirely sure about if you're speaking of part of the CARES package or part of the relief package, but the timeline on a lot of these things remains unclear right now. I want to talk about Leanna's okay.
Go ahead,
Gotti.
Chris.
Leanna is saying some people are not getting extra for their children. Leanna, the thing I want to point out with this is there's been some confusion about, some people are not getting that extra $500 for their child. Here's the deal. Your child has to be under the age of 16, and you have to have filed them under a dependent on your tax returns. There's a lot of people out there that expected to get money if their child was 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23. There's a lot of people that expected that money. Those people will not be getting the extra $500 per child. The child has to reach a certain age. It has to be under a certain age limit. So there are people that are saying, well, there must be some kind of error. I didn't get my extra $500 per child. A lot of those people have children that are over the age of 16.
Yeah, and it's important to note, even if you filed them as a dependent when you filed your taxes, just know this is separate. The stimulus check has set an age limit 16 and under, so that is that information. How long for printed checks if you are not on SSI and haven't filed yet in 2019? Well, Melissa, the printed checks are expected sometime early May. That's when they're going to start rolling that out in phases. So you can expect that in just a couple of weeks.
Yeah, the people who are getting these through the mail are unfortunately going to get them a lot later than people who have direct deposits, and that's just a logistical issue, but they will get them. They're going to be starting to get them in May or so. So just hold tight, and I know that there's been people who are impatient, understandably so. You need your money, but if you normally get your benefits, whether that be through Social Security, SSI, or if you normally file your taxes through the mail, those are going to start coming out in May.
Leanna, did your daughter claim her small children as dependents when she filed her taxes?
Yeah, that's the thing here. Some people mistakenly didn't filed their children as dependents on their taxes. Of course, the IRS has to know that you have children that are dependent on you in order to give you that $500. That could be the reason why, Leanna. Otherwise, I would direct you to the IRS FAQ webpage, irs.gov/coronavirus. They answer a lot of frequently asked questions, and that could be one of them they address there, because I wouldn't see if they filed their small children, if they didn't get that $500. I don't know what the reasoning behind that would be.
Sam is saying, I haven't received anything yet. I'm on SSI and have direct deposit. When I check that site, it says that there's not enough information to show if I qualified to receive the money. I know, Chris, we've had a couple other people mention something about this. What can you tell them?
What I can tell you this, Sam, and thanks for your comment, and good morning to you. I can tell you that we've got, and hopefully we've got our web person here who can drop it. Nick, if you could drop in a link to people, the explainer about what it means when it has, yeah, okay, so that's going to be a good, important article about what that means and what you can do. So we've got that article in response to your comment there, Sam. Melissa asking if my 19-year-old son is on SSI but was claimed on his dad's taxes, does that exempt him from getting a check? Yes, he will not be eligible for the $500 extra for the child stimulus part of it. Unfortunately, that is what is going to happen with that because he is over the age of 16.
Sherry's asking, I claimed my son on my income tax. He went to college and worked. He filed income tax. Will he get $1,200? When did he file the income tax? Did he file that recently? Because if he did, then yes. But if he's still listed as a dependent on yours, he will not get a check, assuming that he is older than 16 years old, since he is in college.
Yeah, Sherry, unfortunately, a lot of college students are going to fall in the cracks here. Most college students, if not all college students, will fall through the cracks here in terms of getting this check. So most likely he will not be receiving that. Last night on CNN, they said they did not send those who receive SSI yet. Okay, so Tasha was watching CNN last night. That's what they said. We can't independently verify that, but that could be the case. We do have to wind down here. I know there's been a lot of people and a lot of questions. If we could pop up my contact information, my email information there, crogers2@kcentv.com is a good way to get in contact with me, and I can kind of answer more questions throughout the day today. And remember, if I don't get you back to you right away, it's because I'm working through a bunch of different questions. We want to thank you all for joining us here on Still Up with 6. We know so many of you are uncertain about what's going on. We're doing our best to answer those questions. We hope you have a wonderful and safe weekend. We hope you stay home. We hope you stay safe. And enjoy your weekend. Yeah, and I know we got a question about Governor Greg Abbott's announcement. That's happening at noon. You can watch that being streamed on our Facebook page as well as our Twitter page, online at kcentv.com, and right here on air as well. So that is when that's happening. You can expect more details on that at noon from Governor Greg Abbott. We will see you guys Monday morning. Until then, we say it every day, stay home and stay safe. Okay, let me just pop this up in full screen. Three, two, 1. Hey there, everyone. Good evening to you. It's time for Verify on this Friday. Tonight, we're going to focus on your stimulus check questions. That is the majority of questions that are in my inbox right now. So many came in.